Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Ashok. This video is the part of COPADO basic series where I have created multiple videos. So if you are new to this video series or want to learn COPADO from scratch, then please start from first video of this series, which will help you to understand basic about COPADO, like what is COPADO, why we need COPADO, how to get started with COPADO, what all basic terms we have in COPADO. And in previous video, I have covered end-to-end deployment of a custom object from development org to production and explained every step in detail. So it is highly recommended to watch at least previous video, or I can say this is the prerequisite for this video. Okay. And today in this video, we will cover more deployment scenarios which are general and mostly used in day-to-day Salesforce development. Okay. So let's start this video and see what all use cases we will cover here. So I have created a sheet with all the use cases that we will cover in this video. So here we have 5 use cases, and first use case is deploy new custom object with custom fields. So this is a straightforward use case in which we will create a new custom object with some custom fields, and in next use case we have to deploy new custom picklist field, and also we have added new value in standard picklist field and included that picklist option in record type. So here we will see how to deploy new picklist field and how to add new value in existing picklist fields. Okay. And in next use case, we will deploy new profile, which I have created for demo purpose. And in fourth use case, we have to deploy field level security on new and existing fields. And for that, I have made changes in profile. So we will see how to deploy these permissions, and at last we will see how to make destructive changes using COPADO. So we will delete an object and deploy it further. So these all use cases we will cover today, and we will deploy these metadata using COPADO. Okay. So let's start from second use case, because first we have already covered in previous video by deploying new object, but that playground has been expired because COPADO playgrounds expire after 30 days, and last video was recorded long time back, but I have created same object and fields in new playground as well. Like I have created new object with name of COPADO demo and created a custom field description. And before starting this video, I have already deployed this COPADO demo object, but deployment of this custom field was not covered in last video. So we will deploy this field with second use case. Okay. Now let's focus on second use case, and let's understand this use case again and see what all components we have created or modified. So in this use case, I have created new custom picklist field and added one more option in existing standard picklist field in account industry, and also created a record type to include this industry field value. Okay. So we have 3 components here. First is custom picklist field account category in account object, and second we have added new option in industry standard picklist. Third we have record type and included industry field option. Okay. Now I think use case is clear to you. So let's open our COPADO org and deploy these metadata. Alright, so this is my COPADO org where COPADO package is installed. And now here to deploy anything, the very first thing is we require a user story, because as I said in previous video, user story is the only container to move changes from one environment to another. So in your actual projects, you may get user stories auto created by someone in your team, or maybe they are using project management tools like Jira or Azure DevOps or any other. So user stories may be created in those project management tools and get synced with COPADO. But now we are in playground, so we have to create user stories manually here. So let's open this user stories tab and click on new and select user story and click on next, and let's give a meaningful title. Okay, so I have added this title. Now let's select project and credentials, because these fields are required to move further, like which pipeline this user story will follow, that is defined in project. So let's select project from here, and credentials means where we are implementing these changes. So in last video, by mistake I said that by selecting credentials we are specifying that in this environment we will deploy this user story. But here we are not saying about deployment, we are saying about development. So you can see in this spreadsheet, I have already done these changes in dev1 org. So let's select dev1 here. Okay, so these 3 fields are important and you can fill other fields if you want. But now let's click on save. Alright, our user story is created, and as I already said that I have done with required changes in db1 org. Like I have already added that project category field, picklist option and record type, and now let's commit those changes. So to attach the metadata which are created or modified as part of user story, we need to click on this commit changes button. So let's click on this. Okay, now we are in user story commit page. So here we have a field git operation and we have 4 options in this. So before moving further, let's talk about these options. So first we have commit files. So generally if you want to deploy any newly added or modified metadata from one environment to another, then we select commit files operation. Like let's say you want to deploy custom object, field, page layout, Apex class, LWC component, or any Salesforce metadata can be deployed using this git operation. Okay. And if we talk about recommit files, then let's discuss a scenario. Let's say you are working on a user story and you have committed your changes using commit files git operation. But after commit done, you made more changes on those same files. And now if you want to commit them again, then you have to select each and every file again from this metadata grid. But if you will select recommit files, then COPADO will automatically show previously selected files in this selected metadata grid. So you don't have to select them again. So this is the one scenario where you can use this recommit files option. And another scenario is, let's say while committing the changes for particular user story, you have selected and committed wrong files which should not be the part of this user story. So before deployment, you want to remove that file from this user story selected metadata list, else it will be deployed as part of this user story and will create problems for you. And now let's see how you can remove that unwanted metadata. So first of all, you have to remove that metadata from this selected metadata grid by unchecking the checkbox. And after that, you have to check this recreate future branch checkbox. So once you will commit changes now, then what it will do, it will delete previous future branch and will create new future branch with all remaining metadata. Okay, so this is very important option when we want to remove wrong files from commit. And next git operation we have destructive changes. So as we have discussed, commit files can help us to deploy newly added or modified files. But let's say you want to delete and deploy some metadata, then in that case you will use destructive changes git operation. Okay, and at last we have full profiles and permission sets. So generally we use this operation to deploy newly created permission set of profiles, and I have a use case with this git operation as well. So with that use case, we will discuss why we have different git operation to deploy profile and permission sets. Okay, so in nutshell, commit files is used when we want to deploy any new or modified metadata, and recommit files is helpful to make changes or redeploy same files, or if you want to delete any committed file. And destructive changes will help us to delete any metadata, and full profiles and permission sets will help us to deploy new profile or permission sets which are not in destination environment. Okay, so now I think we are clear that which operation should be selected when. So in this use case, we want to commit new or modified metadata. So let's select this commit files git operation, and next we have commit message. So this is the message that will tagged with commit operation in Git, and by default it contains user story number and title, but you can edit it if required. And here we have git snapshot and user story number. Okay, and this is the grid which contains all the available metadata in source org. And as I said in last video, if you are not able to find your recent changes, then you have to refresh your metadata by clicking on this refresh reset changes button. So this will make a call out to source org and retrieve newly created metadata. Okay, and I can see my changes here because I made these changes long back. So let's select required components, and as part of this user story, first select account category custom field from account object. So if required, here you can find metadata by name, type and all other options, but in my case it is here. So let's select this account category custom field, and next we have added one more option in standard picklist. I mean, picklist was already there and is standard, and what I have done here, I have just added one more option in this picklist. So if you want to deploy new option that is added in standard picklist, then you have to deploy standard value set for that particular picklist, and that field is not required. But if you add new option in existing custom picklist, then we have to select custom field there, because there is no value set for custom picklist. Okay, so in nutshell, if you are going to add new option in standard picklist, then you have to deploy standard value set metadata for that particular picklist. Or if you are going to add new option in custom picklist, then you have to deploy that particular picklist. Okay, so let me select standard value set in type filter, and select this industry field. Okay, and also I have created one record type, so let's select that one also. So let's type COPADO accounts and select it, and also let's select this description field that we have in use case 1. Okay, so we are done with our selection, and now let's verify all the selected metadata in selected metadata tab. So you can see 4 metadata here. First is account category custom field, and second we have description custom field, and third is industry standard value set, and fourth is COPADO account record type. Okay, and now let's say we are done with our selection. So to move further, let's commit these selected metadata by clicking on this commit changes button. Now COPADO started background jobs to extract these metadata from source org, and will create a future branch from master branch, and then it will compare and merge these changes into future branch. Okay, so let's wait to complete it. All right, so commit process is done, and it opens the user story page again. And as I said in last video, you can see all selected and committed metadata list here in this user story selected metadata section. So before deployment, again you can verify what all metadata are attached with this user story. Okay, and if you want to verify changes in Git, then you can navigate from here. Okay, so now let's deploy these changes using this promote and deploy option. So let's check this checkbox and click on save. Now it will create promotion and deployment record, and in backend deployment has started. So let me open deployment record to see status. So deployment is still ongoing. You can see 0% here. So let's wait for some time, or maybe let's refresh this page. All right, now you can see deployment status completed successfully, and this deployment happened in UAT. So let's verify the changes in UAT org. So let me open UAT org from this playground detail page. And now I am in UAT org. So let's open setup an account object. So here let's open account object to verify deployed metadata. And first check for account category custom picklist. So you can see here we have account category picklist. And once you will open it, you can see the available options as well. Okay. And now let's check newly added option in industry picklist. So you can see this COPADO demo 001 option I have added in day 1 org. So this has been deployed using standard value set metadata type. And now let's verify for record types. So you can also see this COPADO accounts record type. Okay. So we have seen that all metadata is deployed successfully, and with the help of commit files git operation, we can deploy any new or modified metadata. We just need to know about the correct metadata type. Okay. So now we are done with our second use case. So let's discuss on third one. So as part of this use case, we need to deploy a new custom profile, Service Cloud COPADO. So I have just cloned it from Service Cloud profile and renamed to Service Cloud COPADO. Okay. And here in this use case, we will deploy only this profile. So let's open COPADO org and create new user story and fill important fields. And select project and credentials, day 1, and click on save. Alright, so user story is created. So now let's click on commit changes, and here we will use full profile and permission sets git operation, because if you will deploy profile with commit files git operation, then COPADO will deploy permissions only for included components. I mean only for those components which are part of that deployment. And we will discuss more on this in next use case. But the question is, why COPADO deploying permissions only for included components? So the reason behind this is, profiles and permission set contain permissions for multiple components, like for objects, fields, Apex classes, page layout, and for many others. So if COPADO will deploy permissions for all the reference components, then it will be risky, because you may have multiple changes on your dev or profile, and you may only want to deploy permissions for few components. So this is the reason to deploy permissions only for included components. So now the problem is, what will happen if you are creating a new profile or you want to reset permission for all the reference components? Then it will be very difficult with commit files git operation. I mean, there we need to include all the components. So that's why COPADO introduced new git operation, that is full profile and permission sets. So there are two use cases when we should use this full profile and permission set git operation. First is when we want to deploy new profile or permission set, and another is when you want to reset permission for all components. Okay. Now let's select this option. And once you select full profile and permission sets option, then in metadata grid, you can see only profiles and permission sets. Okay. So let's select this Service Cloud COPADO profile and click on commit changes. Commit is done. Now let's review changes in Git. So you can see this Service Cloud COPADO profile here, and it includes permission for all the metadata which are part of this profile. Okay. Now let's start deployment by clicking on this promote and deploy checkbox. And now let's open deployment record to know deployment status. Alright, deployment is done. Now let's verify this profile in UAT org. So you can see now we have this Service Cloud COPADO profile here in UAT also. Okay, so this is how we can deploy new profile or permission sets using COPADO. And we have completed this third use case as well. So now let's talk about this fourth use case. So in this use case, we will modify field level security on new and existing fields in Service Cloud COPADO profile. And after that we will deploy them. And here we will update permissions for these two fields. First is existing field account category. Existing means which is already available in target org. So we have already deployed this field in second use case. So this is already available in upper orgs. And next we will deploy this new custom field with permissions. So I have created COPADO demo field on account object. So we will assign permissions in this Service Cloud COPADO profile and deploy this field. So as of now I didn't make changes for these permissions. So first let's do these changes in Service Cloud COPADO profile in dev1 org. Then we will go for deployment. Okay. So let me open dev1 org. And here let's open Service Cloud COPADO profile. And let's open field level security for account object and click on edit. So you can see now we don't have any permission on account category and on COPADO demo 001 object. So let me assign edit access to both these fields. So now let's verify permissions for this account category field in UAT. So here also you can see we don't have any access. Okay. Now let's save these permissions here in dev1. Alright, so we are done with profile related changes and now we want to deploy these changes to further environments. So let's open COPADO org and create new user story. So user story is created. Now let's click on commit changes button to commit metadata. And here let's select all the new or modified metadata. So start with this Service Cloud COPADO profile because we have modified permissions for some fields. And select this COPADO demo 001 field because that is newly created and not deployed till now. So these two fields I have selected because this is a new field and in this profile we made some changes, right? Now the question is, do we need to select this account category field also? Because that is already exist and technically we didn't do any modification in this account category field definition. But the answer is yes. We have to select this account category as well because we want to deploy permissions related to this component. And as discussed in last scenario, if you want to deploy permissions from profile or permission set using commit file git operation, then COPADO will only deploy permissions for those components which are part of current commit. So we have to include that account category field also. Okay. But the thing is, we didn't made any changes in this field, but still it will be deployed. Or there may be another case, you are in middle with some other changes and you only want to deploy permissions. So if you have a scenario where you don't want COPADO to commit or deploy profile and permission set components, as you are not making any changes to those components, but you want to update some permissions, in such cases, you should commit via the retry only checkbox option. I mean, you also have to check this retry only checkbox. So let me select account category here and also select this retry only checkbox. So now what it will do, it will update permissions without deploying the related components. So for the components which are already exist in target org and we don't want to deploy them, and only want to update permissions, then you should select this retrieve only checkbox also. Okay. So in nutshell, if you want to deploy only permissions without deploying existing component, then you should check this retrieve only checkbox as well. But that component should be available in target org, else deployment will get failed. Okay. So now I think you are clear with the use of retrieve only checkbox. So let's commit and deploy these components. Commit is done. Now let's quickly deploy it by checking this promote and deploy checkbox. And let's open deployment record as well. And sometimes if you'll see this gray area here, then it means feature branch creation is in progress. So once feature branch creation is done, then after deployment will start. So let me refresh this page again. So now you can see deployment is in progress. Okay, deployment is done. So now let's open UAT org and verify the changes. So let's refresh this page here. All right, now you can see access for account category and COPADO demo 001 field. Okay, so this is how we can deploy permissions from permission set or profile for new and existing components. So we have covered this fourth use case as well. Now let's discuss about this fifth use case. So as of now, we have seen how we can deploy new or modified metadata from your lower to higher environments. But sometimes you may face a use case where you need to delete some metadata those are not required or for any region. Like you may need to delete objects, fields, Apex classes or any other metadata. So to delete any metadata, we will perform destructive git operation in COPADO. And as part of this use case, we will delete COPADO demo custom object, which I have created and deployed in first use case. So let's open COPADO org and create new user story. So user story is created. Now click on commit changes button. And as I said, to delete any metadata using COPADO, you need to select destructive changes git operation. And let's select COPADO demo object. And now once I'll click on this commit destructive changes button, then COPADO will create a feature branch out of main branch and delete selected component from that feature branch. And if selected component is nested component means which belongs to a parent, like custom fields, and a custom field is child of custom object. So if we are going to delete nested components, in that case COPADO will update parent file to remove deleted child reference. And if selected component is referenced in other components, then those components will also get deleted. Like let's say you are deleting a custom object, then all the related components will also get deleted, like page layouts, record types, or any other metadata which is referenced to selected components. Okay. Now one more important point is here that COPADO will not delete components from the source org. You need to delete them manually from source org, but component will be deleted from destination org by COPADO when user story is deployed. And manual deletion is only required in first source org, in our case that is dev 1, and in upper orgs it will be automatically deleted once we will promote the user story. So after that in higher orgs, manual deletion is not required. For example, if we are deleting and deploying component from dev 1 to UAT, in this case we have to delete components manually in dev 1, and in UAT COPADO will delete selected components once we deploy user story. And let's say after some time we are going to deploy that user story from UAT to production, then those selected components was already deleted in UAT, so no manual deletion is required in UAT. So in nutshell, only in first source org we have to delete components manually. Okay. Now one more case can be here, Like let's say you have deleted components in your source org prior to coming on this commit page, then you may not get those deleted metadata in this list. So to handle this situation, COPADO provides two ways. First is you can change your credentials by clicking on this icon and select credentials. There is still those components are available. For example, you have deleted those components from day 1, but let's say those are still exist in day 2. So you can select day 2 here, and once you select day 2, then this metadata grid will refresh and show all the metadata which are available in day 2 org. Okay. So this credential option will only available in destructive changes, because in case of destructive changes, COPADO is not taking any update from source org. It is only taking the component name and get it deleted from feature branch. So it is completely fine to select metadata using another credentials. And if you don't want to select metadata from another credentials, then you can click on this add row button. This will add new row to enter metadata details. So let me click on this, and once you will go on the selected metadata, then you will see new row added here. Now you can edit this metadata name and metadata type. Okay. So this is the another way. So let me unselect it as of now. So now let's commit the changes. And parallelly, let's delete this object from day 1 org. Now you can see object is deleted from day 1, and once you'll check on UAT, and on UAT we have still this object. So now let's check our commit status. Commit has been done. Now here in this selected metadata grid, you can check what all referenced metadata is getting deleted with these components. In my case, it is only deleting this object, because I didn't deploy other related components like page layouts and record types. But in your case, you can verify what all metadata is getting deleted here. Okay. Now let's deploy these changes. And open deployment record. So now feature branch is getting created. So while deployment is going on, let's talk about one more case that also happens sometimes. Let's say you have deployed metadata from day 1 to UAT, and that is not deployed on production till now, so will not available in main branch. And now in this case, if you try to commit destructive changes, then that will not work, because feature branch is getting created out of main branch, and in main branch we don't have that component, so your commit will not found any changes there. So now the solution is, you can change your main branch before committing by clicking on the advanced button in your commit page and set it wherever that metadata is available. Okay. Now let's refresh this page. It should be deployed now. Okay. Deployment completed. So now let's verify in UAT org. So now you can see object is deleted from UAT also. Okay. So this is how we can make destructive changes using COPADO in Salesforce. So that's it in this video. And here we have covered 5 use cases. So I think these use cases will help you to understand deployment of out-of-box components in Salesforce using COPADO. And in next video, I will try to cover more scenarios to deploy LWC components, flows, Apex classes with test coverage, and also we will see some advanced COPADO deployment options, like how we can set up pre or post deployment steps to achieve some pre-deployment and post-deployment requirements. For example, let's say you want to take approval from someone before deployment. So how you can set up these kind of things in COPADO deployment pipeline. So these kind of things we will see in future videos. Okay. So please like this video and subscribe my YouTube channel. This will give me the motivation to create more videos. And thank you for watching. I will see you in next video.